Hey everybody. Hey everybody. The looks a little out of place. Let me just edit this better. Okay. So we're on to chapter 10. This time we're doing the cryotech thing audiobook, which apparently has multiple voice actors. It only goes to chapter 10 though. Like, come on. Damn it. I'm not well, whatever. It's chapter 10. K-Cat asked me to do videos a little longer, so we'll try 30 minutes this time.
Chapter 10. Course Correction.
Yeah, it's a good thing they aren't paying me to agree with them. Holy flame my ass.
Fireworks. Pinky Bell, no, Silver Bell. I really should think of her as Silver Bell. Called it fireworks. She had been saving it until her Pinkie Pie museum collection was complete. Of course, if you were going to throw a party to end all parties, you would need fireworks.
Oh, is that what I think it is?
Railright moaned, staring at the strange object full of pulsing.
Did we skip something? Alright. So I was confused and not what I'm like, who the hell is Railright? Like, who the fuck? But okay, no, that was a little time skip. Okay, it weirded me out.
Twisting colors from the open barn door. Not willing to take a step inside. Outside beyond him, I could see Ditsy Doo helping the little filly into her delivery wagon. "I deliver absolutely everything," was emblazoned on the side, along with the constellation of circles that I supposed was the ghoul pony's trademark. Watcher had come through again. A sprite bot had silently wandered into the farm deep in the night. Watcher was keeping an eye out for us, my slightly creepy guardian stranger. It had taken considerably less persuading to get Watcher to contact Ditsy Doo again for help. Maybe it was because Velvet Remedy's warning had still been fresh in my head, and I had asked nicely, saying please this time. More likely, it was because Watcher had totally freaked out the moment I had led the sprite bot into the barn. Watcher's panicked reaction at the object in the barn had been unexpected and frightening. Rather unlike Velvet Remedy's more refined freak-out when she met Ditsy Doo. Once I had assured her that the ghoul pony was a friend, and not a ravenous zombie pony like the herd which had chased us down yesterday, Velvet had smiled and acted perfectly polite. But she was still keeping her distance and giving the ghoul horrified looks. I think the medical pony inside of her was having an allergic reaction to the very existence of pony ghouls. I had expected Ditsy Doo's personal arrival. Silverbell needed help, and we couldn't provide.
I don't like his voice. Like, because it's told from Lil Pip, that's like Lil Pip's thing, and that kind of, I don't like it. It doesn't really annoy me. It's just feeling that, yeah.
It ourselves. There was a possible place in Manhattan that could help the poor filly, if it still existed. But as my oh-so-eventful trek across the Equestrian...
Manhattan. A city. Wouldn't that be a radiated hellhole? Probably filled with raiders and bandits. And that's the thing, K-Cat. Like, I came in on I came into Fallout on New Vegas and Fallout 3, so my perspective on what is a raider and what is a bandit are different things. You consider bandits, slavers, and raiders all the same thing. I kind of see them as all three separate things. It's weird. But, you want to take it to Manhattan? I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think anything exists there anymore.
Wasteland had already proven it was far too dangerous to drag some pony like Silverbell along. She needed love and comfort, safety and prolonged therapy. Wandering the wasteland wouldn't provide that, and another hostile encounter might scar her even worse. I worried that her pain and wounds were too deep to heal already. I couldn't risk that. And, with the lack of alternatives, New Appaloosa was the only real option I saw.
They got
and
walls.
With what I knew of Ditsy Doo, it would be hard to find some pony better to help her, outside of a professional psychiatrist pony. and I knew Ditsy-Do would really care for her. I had not expected Railright to arrive on the wagon, and though he seemed pleasant before, something about this visit felt foreboding. I turned away from him and back towards the strange object, careful to look slightly above and to the side of it, rather than right into its swirling surface.
Yep.
Calamity was standing just inside the barn, having pulled the door open. He, too, refused to get much closer, although out of reasonable caution rather than abject fear.
Right there's a balefire bomb.
What?
Pinky Bell had an undetonated megaspell in her
The
body.
fuck? I thought it was like some kind... Well, it is a magical artifact. It is a magical artifact, so I was right. Not in the way I thought. Ooh, little Pip. Oh God. Oh my God. Ooh. A fucking balefire bomb? And apparently it's got some kind of magnetic pull on a pony. Just... the fuck? Are we going to get a fat man? Is Lil Pip going to get a fat man and just boom? Is that the first ammunition for a fat man launcher? Oh, that would be hilarious.
For fireworks. Shafts of pure sunlight pierced the air from hundreds of tiny breaks in the omnipresent cloud cover. It was like the night I first stepped out of Stable 2. Only instead of a fathomless abyss sprinkled with stars, what shone through above was a sky of the most beautiful blue. I wanted that sky so badly. But the breaks closed up even faster than they appeared. By noon, the gray covering would be solid again. Ditsy-Do had wrapped Silver Bell in a blanket and was strapping herself to the front of the wagon with practiced ease. She caught me watching her and smiled back, her one odd eye rolling up. I tried not to shudder at that, and gave her my best smile back, then cast a mildly reproachful gaze towards the stack of barrels that Velvet Remedy was trying to remain in the vicinity of without actually hiding behind.
What in tarnation do you plan on doing with that thing?
Calamity was asking Railright as they clopped away from the barn.
I'd suggest collapsing the barn on it, but that might set it off. Hell, for all we know, moving it might set the gall-darn thing off.
Railright neighed.
I have no idea.
He held up a hoof to block Calamity.
Y'all mind if I have a word with little Pip alone like?
Calamity shrugged and trotted over to Ditsy-Do. Railright approached me. My sense of unease grew.
You know, if you keep sending us folks, we're gonna have to build a bigger town.
He began casually, but I detected a stern tone underneath.
Well, I am hoping to be freeing a lot more ponies from slavers.
I admitted, thinking
She
once
sounds
again
so
of
young.
Philadelphia.
But I'm only sending them to you because you're the kindest, most decent folk I've met so far.
In all honesty, I was beginning to feel a little uncomfortable sending ponies to live in a town that had a history of trading with slavers. I only hoped the influx of mistreated slaver captives might swing their view.
Don't get me wrong. We admire what you're trying to do. Yeah, they're 7 lives, and there ain't no pony complaining about that. We'll give them a good home and see that the little Phil and the others from old Appaloosa are cared for right.
Here it comes, I thought.
But
Railright grimaced.
y'all are reckless and dangerous. You got 6 of our best trained ponies slaughtered, some of them being friends of mine for longer than I can remember. You destroyed one of our only functioning trains, and y'all pretty much set fire to any peaceful relations New Appaloosa had managed with the slavers. Not to be
Okay, well, one thing on that train thing, it was not fucking working. You had no coal. It ran on coal, and you said yourself you don't have coal. So one, it was not working. Go fuck yourself. Why even have the train car? It's just extra weight. You might as well just tie the ponies to the actual cars. I mean, the brakes are in the caboose anyway, so, you know. Okay, so one, that's not true. 2, I understand what you're trying to get. Okay, look, if your plan was to make a peaceful relations with the slavers long enough to build defenses like your walls, which you made out of train cars, okay, you know, you're using your time wisely to build defenses against a real enemy out there. But I don't get that vibe from you. I don't get the idea that you were just preparing for their extermination eventually. So go fuck yourself. I feel really strongly on issues of... Well, I could look at... we did this a long time ago, and like several chapters back, where I talked about the economic realities of slavery and how the Western media has kind of warped it beyond what it really was. But I still feel morally just wrong about slavery, and anybody who works with slavers, you might not deserve a bullet to the head, but you deserve a kick to the nuts. Because I just have so many feelings and thoughts on this, it's hard to get out. I already talked about the economic realities of it, and how basically the slavers in this have been doing it completely wrong. But, I have a lot of moral things about slavery. It's hard to get out. Just assume I have no pity for, what's the word? Collaborators. That's it. Whether it's willing or not, if you still help them, I don't have much pity for you. So go fuck yourself. I already know where this is going. I can see the signs. I played RPGs. I know where this is going.
We're putting extra guard ponies on the walls now, and we'll need to be sending more guards with the caravans.
To be fair, you should have been doing that anyways. Okay? Like, you lived right next to a slaver town, and in K-Cats, from what I got from your post on my Chapter 9 thoughts, you kind of group bandits, slavers, and raiders all together. Even I personally just separate them. Again, that's because of New Vegas. It kind of made them all separate. The peace wasn't going to last. Okay, the peace wasn't going to last. I mean, these aren't like 18th century slavers. These aren't like antiquity level slavers. These are apocalyptic Fallout slavers. And this isn't a world where K-Cat considers them all basically just raiders. That peace was not going to last. You did good on using that time to build your walls, but the fact that you weren't preparing basically an alpha strike, or, you know, building your defenses in the way that you could basically outlast them, you're a dumbass. You are a dumbass. And, you know, that's not to say... you should have more guards on the wall anyways, because maybe it would have been the slavers that attacked. It could have been, like, a large raiding party or something who decided to put down those uppity towns ponies. Like, what the... Come on, dude! Again, I'm looking at this from the perspective of someone outside looking in. It's kind of hard in this situation to take the characters' viewpoints, because I know the kind of crap that goes down.
Honestly, I'm worried if we got enough ammo in the town if they decide to take things out on us for what your ponies did.
I fell back on my haunches, ears flat. My heart was sinking.
So I'm sorry to tell you this. I truly am. But y'all aren't exactly welcome back in New Appaloosa anymore.
He tried to soften the blow.
At least not for a good long while.
I felt a little numb. Railright glanced over his flank to where Ditsy-Doo and Calamity were stomping hooves, bartering over the scavenged goods that had begun to weigh down our saddlebags. Railright rolled his gaze back to me.
Ditsy-Doo has been damned insistent about trading with you, but I've convinced her to conduct her business with y'all at the gates.
The cloud ceiling had fully mended itself, casting the equestrian wasteland once again into a dreary gray. Velvet Remedy and Calamity trotted ahead of me, deep in discussion over song lyrics. Velvet had somehow managed to persuade Calamity to try a duet with her. My heart felt like lead, but I was surprised that Railright's news didn't hurt a lot more. I did not feel like a rug had been pulled out from under me. In my mind, I had forged no real ties to New Appaloosa, save perhaps a fond respect for the author of the Wasteland Survival Guide. I had never considered making it my home, particularly not after learning why Calamity had refused to make it his, so I was no more adrift now than I had been last night. I checked my pip-buck. Its auto map had several new locations flagged now, including the one towards which we were traveling, Manhattan. Calamity had bartered quite well, gaining us some medical supplies, food, canteens, and even ammunition for little Macintosh. He had also bartered to let us look over some maps from pt1, recording the information in my pip-buck. It was from those maps that I had obtained markers for Manhattan, which was less than a week's trot, and Philadelphia, which was not. The Bell farmhouse had possessed a small water purifier, allowing us to fill our canteens for the long walk ahead. Silver Bell was leaving behind her Pinkie Pie museum. I had asked her permission, very quietly, to look at her party time Mental's recipe. It was now stored in my pip-buck. For some reason, I hadn't felt like mentioning that to the others yet. Fatigue was beginning to take its toll on all of us. We hadn't slept, staying with Silver Bell until pt1 arrived. Even when the little filly cried herself into a nightmare-filled sleep, we had stood vigil. In the distance, I could see a very narrow white tower rising up into the sky, so high it pierced the clouds. Part of me was strongly tempted to divert towards it, just to have a look, but it was miles away and would add many hours to our trip. Instead, I'd try to sate my curiosity with the small series of buildings up ahead. I trotted faster to catch up to Calamity and Velvet.
Shame on
Velvet
you.
Remedy had paused in her songwriting, bothered by a question.
You're never...
Calamity, if the Pegasus ponies live in the clouds, what do they eat?
Calamity answered nonchalantly.
Oh, they grow their own food up there.
He looked at her.
Haven't you ever heard of cloud seeding?
Velvet Remedy stared at him. To Calamity's credit, he held the deadpan expression for quite a few seconds before breaking into a grin.
Oh, thank God.
Very funny. Fine. Have your secrets. But one day, I'll expect a real answer.
I tried to float my binoculars out and take a closer look at the buildings, but I was barely able to get past opening my saddlebags before my levitation was exhausted.
Ooh.
By Luna's grace, I needed sleep. Calamity launched into the air, zooming forward to do an aerial sweep above the structures. He came back, looking grim.
Raiders.
Damn.
Another raider pony went down, most of her head splattering on the wall behind her, mixing with the graffiti. I ducked back behind the apple cart. The apples had long rotted away, and the raiders had taken to decorating it with pony skulls. Little Macintosh had 2 more shots left. I had more bullets, but I wasn't quite sure how to reload it without relying on my magic. It was strange enough firing the gun in my teeth. Velvet Remedy crouched beside me, tending to a gash in Calamity's side. To her credit, she'd actually tried to talk to the raiders. They returned her hello with some extremely perverted suggestions, at least one of which involved necrophilia. That's when Calamity started picking off the ponies who had taken sniping positions on the roofs.
Hook me to the cart.
Calamity insisted.
Excuse me?
Velvet looked at him questioningly. Calamity hoof-tapped the apple cart.
Instead of hiding behind it, let's use it. Hook me up and climb in.
I looked between the cart and Calamity.
Wait, you mean you're gonna pull us through the air as we shoot these guys? You can do that?
Yep.
Emily, that voice is
I blinked.
closer to what
It
I
would
had in my
certainly
head
make
for a
for
little
a
bit.
novel combat. I nodded to Velvet, and she began strapping Calamity in. Moments later, we were in the air. It was exhilarating. The wind blowing through my coat, the ground no longer holding me. It was like falling, only fun. A little bit terrifying, but fun.
Don't you forget to shoot back.
Calamity called out, realizing that I was enraptured by the experience. A raider pony's bullet thudded into the bottom of the wagon. I suspect it hadn't been the first. My mind snapped back to the battle, and I took aim. Down went another raider pony. I lined up on a third with the scope and tongued the trigger. My target fell, blood pooling under him.
Damn it, now I want to play
This was
Fallout
almost too
3.
easy. Only
I don't have
now I
more.
had to reload to switch weapons. The combat shotgun was going to be useless at this range, and I had lost my assault rifle in the train battle. That left the sniper rifle, a weapon so large it required...
Okay, the thing about shotguns is they actually have a longer range than you think. I mean, it depends what kind of shot. Are you using scatter shot or buckshot? If you're using buckshot, that thing actually does have some range on it. But the thing is, in games, they can't make the shotgun actually... They can't give the shotgun its real range. Because otherwise, it'll be the most powerful weapon in the game. So, Lil Pip, that shotgun might actually be useful here. I mean, you are firing down, so that increases the range of your shot.
Either telekinesis or a mountain to fire. I looked at the cart, figuring I could brace it on the post.
Whoa!
Calamity shouted as the sky filled with bullets, one coming close enough to scrape his battle saddle.
Pesky varmint. Lil Pip, see if you can take that one hiding behind them mailboxes. I'll bank so you can get a better shot.
I lined up the sniper rifle, bracing it as best I could, then aimed it down the scope as Calamity swung the cart around. I spotted the radiator down, an ugly mare with only scraps of purple left in the mane. She was mostly protected behind a row of mailboxes, floating a scoped assault carbine, a serious upgrade to the assault rifle I had used before. I held my tongue until Calamity's maneuvering gave me a better shot. The raider dived almost fully into view, unleashing a torrent of bullets up at us. Slipping into the targeting nirvana of sand, I barely noticed Calamity's cry as I tongued the trigger and sent the raider to the goddess's judgment. I felt the wagon tilt dangerously.
Calamity!
Okay, I like the music. I like the background stuff. I like it. Turn it down a little.
Velvet Remedy cried out beside me. The wagon turned sharply in the air. I gasped. Calamity had been shot clean through his right wing. The wing was seeping with blood, and he grunted in agony as he tried to keep the wagon aloft.
I'm sorry, folks.
He whinnied painfully.
Y'all might experience some turbulence.
The wagon dropped 5 feet, eliciting a yelp from both Velvet Remedy and myself. Calamity caught the fall, pulling up, trying to make it to the roof of the most intact building. He made it, mostly. My friend crashed down onto the roof hard, skidding along the broken...
Okay, like I said, KK didn't actually write out the screen, but the fact you added it, I like you. I like you. You need to make more of these. You need to make more of these right the hell now. Okay? But, like I said, you gotta turn down the music. I'll fucking write a message later.
Tiling, the wagon slamming down behind him
Pretty
at a
good.
bad angle.
This is what I was
One of the wheels
expecting
snapping
from the
off
other
as it
audio.
threw Velvet Remedy and me. I found myself airborne in the not fun falling way. I hit the roof once, bouncing, pain bursting in my shoulder, and flew into a pile of crates and ammo boxes, the former splintering on impact. I looked up in time to see the apple cart roll over Calamity, jolting off the lip of the roof with a loud crack, and proceed over the edge, dragging Calamity along with it. Blood smeared the rooftop from his shut wing. The wounded Pegasus gasped and kicked out his legs, catching and bracing himself against the lip of the roof. He stopped, trembling, the weight of the wagon pulling at him through the still mostly intact harness.
Help.
Velvet Remedy moaned nearby. The lucky mare had managed to land face first on a nice soft mattress. Raider bedding.
Oh.
On second thought, perhaps not so lucky.
Yeah.
I pulled myself to my hooves, wincing in pain from splinters and scrapes, and a brutal bruise in my shoulder, and dashed towards Calamity. Velvet galloped past me, her longer legs carrying her to the Pegasus' side, where she started biting at the strained harness. I swiftly joined her. Calamity groaned. After only a few very long seconds, harness cut. The cart fell down the side of the building and smashed into fragments on the sidewalk below. Velvet Remedy knelt on the mattress, which she had tried flipping over to a less grossly stained side, only to be deterred by the colonies of bugs living beneath, and contemplated the memory orb we had found in the wreckage of Ditsy-Do Deliveries. She hadn't actually played it yet. Velvet had taken care in cleaning and mending Calamity's wounded wing as best she could, then wrapping it in healing bandages, assuring the Pegasus that he would be ready to fly again by the next morning. Presuming, of course, that he follow her advice and stay earthbound until he could get some rest. Likewise, she had treated the rest of our injuries with healing potions and poultices. Once again, our medical supplies had been reduced below what I would have wanted. I was counting on scavenging more from the buildings. Surely the raiders had been hoarding some. There was a hatch down into the building. Moments after we had cut the apple cart loose, a single raider pony had burst up out of it, armed with a metal rake whose tines had been sharpened into deadly claws. He was felled by a twin shot from Calamity's battle saddle. Even at the edge of passing out, Calamity was still a perfect shot.
Why a balefire bomb?
I asked.
Why
as
not?
I returned my sniper rifle, struggling to put it back into its harness without levitation.
Like, seriously.
It turned out that reloading bullets into Little Macintosh had been within my capabilities still, but only so long as the beautiful gun was held in my mouth. My companions both looked up, startled. I clarified,
I mean, why was it a bomb? I thought megaspells were cast.
Calamity, who had curled up near the roof hatch, simultaneously resting and keeping guard,
That's good.
answered.
That's a good question.
Unicorn ponies cast spells. Zebras did not. They mixed their magics into potions and phylacteries and fetishes. Their megaspells were either worked into enchanted missiles, like the one which obliterated Cloudsdale, or snuck into population centers and detonated, like the balefire bomb which annihilated Manhattan.
I nodded at that and turned my attention to pulling ammo from the raiders' ammo boxes. One locked box provided me with several grenades. Nice. Looking up to Calamity,
Ready to brave the building?
I was hoping that all the raiders were already dealt with, and we could scavenge freely, but that was probably wishful thinking. Calamity nodded, getting onto his hooves. Velvet Remedy got up, moving past me towards the hatch. I leaned forward and bit at the end of Velvet Remedy's tail, trying not to think of what it tasted like, and reined in her forward trot.
Yeah, what?
Stay here.
What?
I whispered.
Yeah. Why are you
Let
going
us
ahead?
scout first.
Velvet nickered at me unappreciatively, but stopped. Calamity gripped the hatch handle with his teeth and flapped his wings, getting a disapproving sigh from Velvet Remedy, pulling it open. The warm, flickering light and acrid smoke of burning trash barrels greeted us. Crouching down, I made my way down the stairs. Calamity followed. There were 3 raider ponies inside, barricaded and waiting nervously for us to show ourselves. I waved Calamity back, then backed up myself.
This music just
A moment
changes
later,
the
I
whole
sent several of my new
image
grenades
of
down
the
to
battle I have in my head.
Oh, fuck!
came a voice from below, followed by 3 rapid explosions. Then a silence marred only by the sound of falling debris. Creeping back down, I found 3 bloody corpses and a hell of a mess. The rest of the building was raider-free, although Calamity and I had to clear a few tripwires and disarm a bouquet of grenades hanging over the front door before I was ready to declare the building safe for looting. Sadly, neither Calamity nor I had the sort of finesse with explosives and traps that would allow us to safely collect the grenades. Disarming the grenade bouquet was done at a distance, and involved a thrown bucket and a lot of running. I returned to the stair, calling Velvet Remedy down.
Oh, I can come down now? How nice.
Hey,
Velvet gave me a flat expression and trotted down past me.
I don't like her.
Below, I heard her suck in a breath at the slaughter. I closed my eyes, wincing, then opened them and walked down after her. The buildings had included a postal office, a grocery, and Equestrian Army Recruitment Center. The last of those had taken a direct hit, leaving only 2 freestanding walls, one of which still boasted a large recruitment poster. "You too can be a Steel Ranger," it proclaimed, with an image of a rearing pony. Or, at least, a rearing pony-shaped suit of fully enclosed armor, complete with a shining lamp on its forehead, towering over a rock-strewn landscape littered with dead, bloody zebras. The rest of the building had collapsed into a crater at the bottom.
You can use that as
We
kindling
had
for fire.
crash-landed on the roof of the post office. It turned out to be the most scavenge-worthy, as raiders had stored everything from cartons of cigarettes to most of the various odds and ends I would need to build a poisoned needle gun. No medical supplies, however. That hurt. The grocery had long since been looted of any foodstuffs, and the raiders had turned the interior into their camp. The disemboweled bodies of their victims hung from the ceiling between filthy mattresses and pots full of disgusting food. Pornographic and blasphemous graffiti covered everything. Velvet had insisted on coming into the grocery despite our warnings, but swiftly fled, vomiting into one of the mailboxes across the street. Trotting to the corpse of the unicorn,
She went
I picked
outside?
up the assault carbine with my teeth and struggled to put it into my saddlebags before giving up and carrying it around my neck by that strap, along with my canteens. Calamity had stripped the other raider ponies of weapons and goods, leaving behind their barding, and now he was tearing apart their firearms and rebuilding better ones using the best parts. I trotted over to watch him. I had done the same thing before,
skill.
but he was much better at it. Velvet Remedy, looking a little worse for wear, called out to me as she trotted up.
There's a safe in the crater that still looks intact, dear. Do you want to have a go at it?
I let her lead the way. Mercifully, bobby pin and screwdriver was still within my abilities. As I tried to pick the lock, I asked Velvet,
We need a place to rest. What do you think of staying here?
In a raider town?
she asked incredulously.
Have you seen their decor? Beyond being unbelievably disgusting, it's exceptionally unhealthy.
Okay, girl gets it. Yeah, I'm stopping right there because we're over at the 30-minute mark. I don't know how long you want me to make these videos, K-Cat, but the longer the video, the longer it takes to edit. So, well, I can at least agree with her on the unhealthy part. But, I don't like her. I don't like her at all. I mean, what the fuck is she just... Okay, she went outside to puke in the mailbox across the street. Hello? Just because you cleared one building doesn't mean they're all safe, you dumbass. And two, what was she thinking just trotting on ahead and going downstairs? She is so stupid. Wow. Oh, God, I cut myself now. I have that, like, plastic... Oh, shit. Like that plastic thing you put your computer chair on when the floor's carpet and it's kind of broken apart and... Shit. But, a balefire bomb. What was it doing in the farm? What? Like, I don't care what else happened, and I already explained my feelings on the town of New Appaloosa. Fuck everyone in there but the kids and Derpy, okay? Or Muffins. That's her official name now, Muffins. I actually want to talk to you, KK, about your interpretation of magic energy as a fuel source, but I gotta remember, I'm coming into this with all the knowledge of the current seasons and some of the comic books, for like season 5, going on season 6. Again, I believe I think you wrote all of this in season 2 or something, I don't know. So, my knowledge on magic, MLP magic, its rules, its abilities, and what you can do, it's not fair to analyze that. Oh, God. Oh shit, I'm actually bleeding. Ugh. I gotta get rid of this thing. But, like, it's not fair for me to analyze that with the knowledge I have. Because you didn't, again, you didn't know what we know. Or I know now. That, yeah, you totally can get a magical object that's pretty damn small. The book. You know, the book from the movies. The one that... Magic diaries are basically the equivalent of cell phones, and apparently they can function as a thing that lets you travel through reality. Just again, it's not fair to compare that because you didn't have that knowledge, and it would basically make this whole setting not impossible because of new balefire bombs, but the energy crisis for Equestria would be... This whole thing would be different if you had that knowledge. So I can't really compare that, even though I want to. So, alternate reality, it don't matter. a lot of things I wanted to ask you. You actually answered in your blogs, like the Changelings and the Crystal Empire. I'm surprised that the Crystal Empire was the Balefire bomb thing. I made sure to avoid as many spoilers. If I saw something that was going to be a spoiler, I'd no. I closed my eyes, skipped, exited out, whatever. But, so I'm pretty good at avoiding spoilers. I still know nothing of The Witcher 3 or Fallout 4. Like, I am a blank check on those games. Even after all this time. But, does the Fat Man exist in this universe? Because that's what my mind went to. I mean, the fact that there are hoof-held Balefire bombs, and that Lil Pip found one. Does she still have it? Did she leave it in there? I think she left it in there. But the fact that they exist makes me think of the fucking Fat Man. You know, just fire that shit. Like, is that a thing in this reality? Does that exist? I mean, we got our first glimpse at power armor, which we already know. I mean, it's on the cover art. You can't have Fallout without power armor. It looks like the T41B power armor from Fallout 3, which I personally call the scrap armor, because it's not as good as the 51B, which is the classic power armor. It's going to be interesting. Who is this on the screen? Like, who is that? Is that an actual character, or is that just going to be one of the crappy raiders? I don't know. Yeah, that is bleeding. It's not bad, but still. It's kind of shocking, that plastic thing. Ugh. I gotta go check this out. I gotta put a bandage on or something. I gotta go. Yeah, not too much. I'm just thinking of the Fat Man now. And how dumbass Velvet Remedy is. Like, she ran outside in broad day in a raider town when we know that there's still raiders on the ground. Dumbass! And fuck New Appaloosa, man. Fuck.